Niger's military spokesman has announced a new prime minister. Ali Lamine Zain served as the economy and finance minister for 8 years from 2002. Meantime, the West African bloc ECOWAS says it will hold a summit to discuss the crisis in Niger on Thursday. And Niger's military has closed off its airspace, warning that any foreign aggression will be met with force. Fadoul Abderazak reports from Niamey.
This tightened security on the streets of Niger's capital, Niamey. West African negotiators are due to meet after rejecting the military coup and the suspension of Niger's constitution. Earlier, the regional bloc ECOWAS threatened to use force to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Supporters of the military council backed the changes. They say army leaders have liberated the country from Western powers, especially the former colonial ruler, France.
Today our country needs liberation. At the moment, some regions are facing terrorism in a large way, which prompted people to leave. Therefore, I appeal to all young people to join us.
Niger's military council insists it has popular support, but critics say the army leaders are using mercenaries from the Russian Wagner group to consolidate power. Opposition parties and political figures have urged the military council to organize presidential elections swiftly, while the ruling party and its supporters are demanding the immediate return of President Bazoum to power, even if it requires the use of force.
The ruling party wants to use the closure of the borders and Western pressure to reinstate the legitimate regime.
Ordinary Nigerians are hoping Western sanctions and the suspension of aid will not harm the economy. People struggling to make a living want Niger to avoid turmoil. They hope for an end to the conflict, even after the military council shut down Niger's airspace. Fadoul Abderazak, Niamey.
Well, a top U.S. State Department official is in Niger, but Victoria Nuland was unable to meet the self-proclaimed president and the deposed president, Mohamed Bazoum. Shihab Ratanzi reports now from Washington.
Victoria Nuland briefed reporters over the phone just before she left for the airport. She said the conversations had been at times difficult, but she wanted to make clear what was at stake if democracy was not restored. She'd asked for gestures of the health and welfare of the deposed President Bazoum, and she hopes that the people responsible will come back to those requests, she told reporters. However, she kept emphasizing that the door was open for further negotiations. She said, they have their own ideas, talking about the coup leaders, their own ideas about how this goes forward. They do not have ideas that comport with the Constitution, and that will be difficult in terms of the US's relationship, if that's the path they take, Nuland said, but we gave them a number of options to take up on it. The US continuing to emphasize the need for dialogue, even as they have yet to officially designate this a coup. In related news, though, the State Department did confirm that already hundreds of millions of dollars of what it called aid had already been suspended, even before that official coup designation. Shihab Ratanzi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, Al Jazeera's Rosalind Jordan has spoken to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who stopped short of calling the situation in Niger a coup.
Very quickly, sir, the situation in Niger. Will the U.S. say this is now a coup?
So whatever you call it, what we've seen is the disruption of the constitutional order in Niger. And we, like many countries throughout Africa, and notably ECOWAS, which brings together many countries in West Africa, is determined that the constitutional order be reestablished. That's what everyone's focused on right now. So from our perspective, for the United States, I've been in close contact with President Bazoum, with many leaders throughout Africa, and everyone is working toward the same objective, the restoration of the constitutional order.
And delegations from Mali and Burkina Faso's militaries are in Niger's capital, Niamey, to meet coup leaders. The West African bloc, ECOWAS, has imposed sanctions and warned it would send troops to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. But an ultimatum to reinstall the deposed government has now passed, and the junta remains defiant. Mali and Burkina Faso have said they would consider an attack on Niger a declaration of war.